Hey, it's your Wisconsin Wine Guy. I am back again with another wine compliments of Wine Insiders Wines. Again, this was a tour through Spain. I can't believe that it's been 3 weeks already. We're in week 3 of the third part in the series as we tour through Spain. I introduced to you 2 other sets of wines the previous 2 weeks. I hope you had the opportunity to purchase those wines and taste along with me. This is a new format that I'm putting out with the Wine Insider Wines, in which you get a chance to taste along with me. So I'm creating like a on-demand style type of wine review. So I'm still going to have the infamous thumbs grading system going on, but you'll have a chance to taste along with me. So the videos will be a lot longer than what my normal reviews are going to be, because I want you to go step by step with me. Also, there's parts in the video where you can pause. I would say you can pause here. And during that pause is when you can have a conversation with a group if you're tasting with friends, or you can take some notes down, but when you come back, I will still be talking about the wine. So the great thing about this also is that you can rewind, fast forward, and just go through the tasting with me. How cool is that? So on-demand style tasting. Now I have my supplies. I have my water. Always got to stay hydrated. I have my tasting mat, going through the process of how to taste. We'll go through that a little bit too when we're doing this tasting. I have my wine glasses and I have my wines. Wow. Part 3. Are you ready to get started? Because I'm ready to get started. Here we go. So now, in our third installment of tasting, of me taking you through Spain, we're going to go back to a winery which was featured in the very first video, okay? Bodegas, I got to get this right, okay? Because my Spanish is a little rusty, all right? So on there was Hacienda Gaston. So Bodega Zauza Gaston, same as Hacienda Gaston. So we did the Tercera of those wines. Now we're going to do Flor de Zara, 2 wines, both hailing out of Rioja. Can we say that together? Rioja or Rioja. I like that better. Rioja. Okay? So we're going to do our white. It's going to be 100% Viura. Viura. Okay, this is going to be a 2019, and then our red is going to take us back to the Tempranillo, and then there's another grape add to this, and we'll talk about that when we get there. All right, so I'm going to get these open. Now, I've had a great time doing this presentation. Spain, in some parts, is oftentimes overlooked, and by showcasing you these wines, and I hope to do a lot more, is to give you an idea of different grapes, similar styles of other grapes. So let's say you're drinking a Pinot Grigio, and you may want to try something new. Well, you can look into an oak Chardonnay, or you can look into, a Viura, will work too. So there's different grapes out there, similar in style to other grapes, but gives you a completely, when I say style, I'm talking about the way the wine is made, the taste, etc. But it's giving you something completely different, a taste coming from a different area. So let's get this open. I mean, these corks are so cool. Get a look at that. Tells you right where to insert your corkscrew. All right. I mean, so you can't go wrong with this one. These are synthetic corks. I don't mind synthetic corks, just like I don't mind having my wines with a screw cap, because I know that once it goes into the bottle, if there was something wrong with that wine, guess what? It was the wine. All right. Now this one here is going to be somewhat of a natural cork. It doesn't have the fancy, type cork, which I missed that, but all the same, just insert in the middle, and you can't go wrong, right? And that takes care of that. Let's get a look at that wine, that cork. Check that out. Woo! Both are 2019. I'm going to insert my Haley's corker. Now, my Haley's corker. I don't talk much about this, or I need to talk more about it. I mean, if you get a look at that inside, there's a screen in there for filtering the wine. So let's say this wine has sediment, or maybe you broke the cork inside. It's going to filter all of that out. It has a large hole and a small hole when you pour. You can see the pin there. That gives a little aeration when you pour in the wine. And you know what else? And it seals. So you can take that wine, lay it back into your wine cellar or wine refrigerator, and everything will be honky-dory. So I'm going to put my Hades corker. It also preserves. I found that my Hades corker preserves the wine much better than using the pump. All right? So if you can find those in your area, give it a try, and hopefully you'll be as pleased as I am. Now, let's get to it. Let's get both of these wines poured into the glass. We're going to go through that wine tasting process. Wow, I just can't get over that 3 weeks have passed already since we first began this journey together. I had a great time doing it. I hope you had a great time tasting on with me. Again, as I said, the videos are longer than normal, but we want to do something new. So we have both wines poured. Let's get that cork off here. Both wines are poured into the glass. We're going to go through this quick tasting process. All right? So let's give you a look at both of the wines. So when you look at both the wines, you know, quite obvious, they're different colors. All right? What I noticed, you know, you probably can't tell it through the video, but what I noticed in this wine, and I have my white background, okay? What I noticed in this wine is I have, and I can look at my tasting sheet too, which is white. I have a clear top. It goes into yellow with greenish hues. All right? That's the Viura. Viura. Okay? And now when I look at my red, okay? Notice I'm always swirling, so I'm always ahead of the tasting process. When I look at my red, all right, I lean it over my white background. It goes from a reddish color coming down to more of a ruby color down towards the center of the glass. All right, so that's looking at it. So here's where you can pause with you and your group. You can go around and look at the wine, and what you're looking for in the wine and why the visual analysis is important if there's any visual faults in the wine. Okay? So you go through, take a look at that. When you come back, I'll be on to the next step. All right? So now, we did the visual analysis. These wines look pretty good. They're nice and clear. They're clean. There's no cork inside. You know, there's no film across the top. You know, could be a bad sign of bacteria. So everything looks cool, looks pretty cool. Or that film could be because your glasses weren't that clean. All right? So my wines look pretty good. Now I'm going to do the smell. So with the smell, for me, it's going to be nice swirl. Okay? So if you're not experienced swirling your hand clockwise or counterclockwise, you can set it in the palm of your hand if you have no table and just hold it by the base to spin, and on the base, just twirl it clockwise. Or set it on your table, hold it on the base, and turn it clockwise or counterclockwise. And what we're doing is we're aerating the wine so that it can release its bouquet. Get that aroma, get that smell going. You know, when we poured wine out of the bottle, it gave us a chance to incorporate more air into the wine. I'm going to open up my red wine here so that it can continue to get some air. In fact, I'm going to pour some more in here because I know that I'm going to, you know, probably go through this pretty quickly. All right, and a little tip for you. When you're aerating your red wine, pour the wine, enough wine out to the shoulders of the bottle so you get enough air surface into the bottle. You know, when you say open the bottle, you know, and let it air breathe for about 3 or 4 hours, well, maybe 1 or 2 hours, well, you're not going to get that much breathing in that small hole. But if you pour some of the wine out, now you have a little bit more air incorporated in, just like we pour into our glass, it's going to help with kind of mellowing out that wine. Same concept, you know, with the aerators, all right? So I got my swirl on both of these going. Look at that, two-handed. And if you can do that, more power to you. You are excellent. All right, so now with the smell, just like with the look, we're looking for imperfection. So we're smelling. If there's a funky smell, we know right away we're not going any further with this wine. Sometimes the wine in the bottle is a bad bottle or is a bad wine. But you won't know until you put it into the glass and you get more air. And this part here is going to tell us the truth. All right? So now we got that going. So we're looking for bad smells. We're looking for great smells. And then we're also looking for what exactly is it we smell in the good category. All right? This is where to dig into your mental database and think about all these different fragrances that you are familiar with. All right? So now we get a swirl, and then we're going to smell. My smell is a two-step process. Okay, I get my first step is just a quick inhale. With that, it begins to set my brain up, and the piston starts firing off, so that I can start now setting up that, okay, this is my focus. Then on my second smell, it's going to be a slow inhale with a count in my head of about 10 to 15 seconds. I want that wine, of those, the aromas just go through my entire nasal passage, you know, to the point where I can almost even taste the wine just from smell. So you have at it. Here's where you can pause. You know, at the point of the pause, go through the process, swirling and smelling, and then write down, talk about amongst yourselves, and write down what it is you're smelling, and see what happens when you come back. See if we come close to smelling the same thing. All right, so you're probably back now, and you got your notes. Now I'm going to smell my white wine. That was the quick smell. Now for the slow smell. Whoa, wow. You know, when you do that, there's so many things that happen. You know, you get that rush. For me, it's like almost like a rush of a breeze or something. You know, like cool wind. Then it rolls into like a peach, and then from there it seems to roll into, you get citrus. In my case, I'm going to go with lemon. Now, I'm not going to say a specific kind of lemon, but I'm going to go with lemon. But you know when you cut into a lemon and you squeeze the juice and you get that quick burst of fruit, but then in the citrus on the back end, that's what happens here with the white wine when I smell it. Wow, man, I almost pick up some green type of smell. Don't want to say grass, because this is not grassy, but like green leaves. Wow. Very nice. Now for the red. So the Tempranillo. Oh, I should tell you this. When we talk about the Viura, you may hear it also said in a different name. I mean, like all grapes, they have aliases in which different countries or different people, different winemakers choose to label the wine. In this case, we're going to go with Macabeo. So Viura is also called Macabeo. And something else about Viura, this will be the grape that you'll find used in the Spanish Cava, sparkling wine. Okay? Now let's go to our red. So that's what I got out of the white wine. Now when I go to my red, and hopefully you took your notes, before I put my nose in, it's like, oh my God, it's right there. Hope you took your notes as we go through this, and we can now compare. Wow, I mean, just right here was great. So, dark berries, raspberry. Man. Cherry. Get subtle hints, just very, very subtle hints of cedar notes to it. But definitely has a clean nose as well. What did you get? How did your smell compare to mine? I mean, I can smell both these wines all day. Now, it's funny, when you go through that tasting process, the look, the smell, it all builds on the next step, which is going to be the taste. Because what you smell should be similar to what you're going to taste plus more. So again, we're going to look at Tempranillo in the red, all right? We're in Rioja. Also, in my research, I found that another grape is part of this, and that's going to be the Mazuelo. I have to always write that one down because, you know, that's one that slips me. Mazuelo. Now, that is known by another name. Again, all these different names. You have Mazuelo, then you have Carignan. Okay, so it's going to be 90% Tempranillo, 10% Mazuelo or Carignan, which is the French name of that grape, red grape. So both the red grapes. So now for the tasting for me, again, I like two-step processes. My first step in tasting each of these wines, I want to identify the acidity. No acidity, you know how it goes in the reviews. No acidity, no play. right? I want my wines to be lively. I want my wines to have a fresh taste to it. All right. It's amazing when you can have an older wine, say 8, 10 years old, and it still has that youthfulness to it. A little more mature, but has a undertone of youthfulness to it, and brightness. All right. That's what I'm tasting for in this. These are 2019s, both vintages. So let's see what we have here. First step is going to be a rinse. A full rinse. Take a little bit of wine to your mouth. Full rinse for about 8 seconds. Swallow or spit if you're spitting. And then try to feel the acidity. Okay? And then on the next step, we're going to talk about something else. So here's where you can pause and do a rinse of the first wine. Okay? And then try to feel the acidity. Talk about amongst yourselves. Do you feel that acidity? And what I mean by that, your mouth is watering. When you come back, I'll be on to the red wine. Here we go. Okay. Not crazy acidity, but a nice level of acidity. Remarkably fruity on the taste. Remember I spoke earlier about, trying a different white grape varietal than having a Pinot Grigio. I mean, wow, it's firing all cylinders right here for me to try something else. Even a dry Riesling. But anyway, mellow acidity, but a nice balance to it, in this wine. But it definitely accentuates the fruity qualities that exist in this wine for me. Wow. But now, I'm going to do my second sip, and that's going to be my taste. Here's what I'm looking for. A couple of things. One, I want to taste and identify the components. All right? What are those components again? Say it with me. Tannins, sugar, alcohol, and what else? Acidity, the most important thing. These are simple components. What I'm looking for is that there's a balance of these components on my palate and in my mouth, that one is not spiking over the other. Now, when I talk about sugar, I break sugar down into two categories. You have sugars in a sweet wine, and you have ripe fruit. In this case, I know it's a dry wine, so I'm looking for ripe fruit qualities to it, okay? So here we go on my second taste. That's the first part. Now, when you have it in your mouth, you chew that wine, and you swallow, you let the residue just slowly spread over your palate. So you can get a feel. Your palate's going to give you, your tongue is going to give you all the sensations. It's going to give you fruit, going to give you some sweetness, going to give you some bitterness, going to give you some tartness. Alcohol too. What you will notice is anything spiking over the other. Okay? Now there's a little slight bitterness on the finish of this wine for me, but it's not overpowering. I think it blends very well, with this particular wine and the style of wine that I'm making. Just very nice, refreshing, easy drinking wine. Would be great with food, cheeses, light snacks, light flavored snacks. So that's the first step. All right. Now, here's where you can pause and you can go through that process yourself. When you return, I'll talk about this second taste and what happens. So now I'm going to do the second taste of the wine, and here's what I'm tasting here's what I'm after when I taste the wine on the second sip. Do I taste what I smelled? Okay, remember earlier you have your notes when you wrote your notes. I had a little peach notes, I had a little lemon notes on the finish. I thought the acidity was nice. And I want to know if and I had a little green taste, what I call leafy. All right. I want to know if I taste now what I smell. Here we go. Again, here's where you can pause again, write your notes, come back, and compare what you wrote versus what I'm saying. Let's see how close we are. So now you're back. Here's what I tasted. I'm going to taste this again. Here's what I taste. Wow. Notice I'm kind of like chewing Almost like this sloshing the wine up and down all around my mouth, on my palate. Wow, the acidity is nice. I love how it makes my mouth water. But then there's a fullness, a surrounding of fruit. That's where that, like lemon pulp, peach, I would even go as far as said nectarine. Mm. Then that greenness comes through as well, but it's not overpowering. I mean, I like the feel of this. Yeah, again, it's something completely different. It's very round. I have a nice chill on it, and it begins to warm up in my mouth. But it's nice and round. I do taste more of the as I said, the pulp. Like when you just bite into the pulp and get a squeeze of the pulp, the subtle sweetness, or fruitiness from the lemon. Definitely get some of that. Wow. Mm. Wow. So what was it for you? How did our notes compare? How did your taste, if you were tasting with the group, how similar or how different did each of you come up with when you tasted this wine? When it came to the components, for me, I thought it was a very nice balance, in the white. There was nothing really spiking, other than, as I said, there's that subtle bitterness from the finish, but that would be typical from this type of grape. Okay, it is dry but nicely fruity. I can just keep drinking, almost a subtle. Mm, there's something else that exists there that's going to come to me. When you keep drinking wines, you keep discovering something new. That's so cool about when drinking wine. So while I'm thinking about that other taste or flavor that I have, I'm going to move on to the red. Again, the same process. That swirl, that smell. Notice I do this before just to refresh my memory, refresh my mind. That first taste is going to be feeling for acidity, okay? And also for the components. Remember the components. 4 components. Are they going to be in balance? But acidity is most important. Here we go. Wow. Soft, medium tannins. Nice acidity. A nice fruitiness, fruit flavor in the mouth. Wow, but my mouth is watering. That's the most important thing. You get a little bit of the cedar notes, from its barrel aging. But the tannins are just gives it a good structure. Again, those are components that I'm talking about now with this wine. I mean, that's really nice. Now my second is going to be the flavor taste. Do I taste what I smell? I say a little bit of cranberry, a little bit of dark berries, a little bit of cherry, raspberry. And then like a hint of cedar notes on the nose. All right? So while I taste, you can pause here and you can write down your notes. Or write down the notes amongst your group. When you return, let's see how they compare. All right. So I'm going to be tasting this now and see if it compares to what I smell. Now, I like the way this feels in my mouth. It's not a complex wine. This is an everyday drinking wine. Both of these are. We're not talking about something that's overly complex, that's going to, have you sit down and meditate on the wine, what you taste. These flavors are straightforward, okay? The wine feels straightforward. Nice finish. It's almost like plummy on the finish. I can taste that when I'm speaking. You're always tasting. You never stop. So I like the way both of them feel in my mouth. Let's turn this around. I like the way both of the wines feel in my mouth. Let's give you the alcohol now. The Jura alcohol, we're looking at 12%. Okay? 12%. Again, very light, very simple, very easy, clean. right? You with me so far? We go to the Rioja, the Vino Tinto, okay? Vino Bianco, Vino Tinto. We're looking at 14.5%. And when we talk about those components and alcohol being one of those, did it feel like 14.5% to you? It didn't feel like 14.5% on my palate. You know, there was no alcohol burn, basically is what I'm saying. Let's give it another taste. Mm. And I have a nice cool temperature on this wine. Not warm, but nicely cool. All right, so some wines, even though it's 14.5%, it's not heavy. It's not heavy laden, you know, on your palate. What did you think of it? How do we compare? So it's not heavy laden on my palate. I thought it felt really nice. You know, again, everyday drinking. The finish, what we talked about, is how long does it last? You can taste the wine. I mean, I'm still tasting this wine. You know, and even the white also had a nice finish. So let's do that. Let's get a good count here. I always like to go back and forth to wine. So let's call this short to medium finish. Now for the red. The wines play nice together. Medium to long. When I say short to medium finish, I'm speaking about, say, 45 seconds to maybe a minute, minute and a half. Long, quite naturally, more than a minute and a half, to medium part, to maybe 2 minutes or longer, or maybe 3 minutes or longer. I can still taste this red wine. Okay, so I'm gonna go from 1.5 minutes to probably 2 minutes, maybe 2 minutes 15 seconds. Now, believe it or not, I've been clocking this the whole while I'm tasting it. So of course, 2 minutes didn't go by just as after I tasted it, but I've been clocking the taste of this wine the whole time. The point is, when you're tasting wine, you automatically go through these processes, you know, while you're tasting over and over. Even when you're casually tasting, you just do it without knowing. And I have to say, be aware of this when you're swirling. That's going to be a dead giveaway that you're a wine drinker, right? All right, so now we tried both of these wines, and now we get to the part where I give you my review. Double thumbs up, I highly recommend that wine. Thumbs up, it's a recommendation. You know, get you a bottle. You won't go wrong with it. It makes a nice gift. Double thumbs up is like, oh my God, you must. It's out of the world. You must try this. 3/4. If I'm at a party, I drink this wine and I'm digging it, you know, I would drink it. Or it may be so exceptional that I would buy some of those and have it at my party. Halfway. Not so much for me. Okay? Doesn't mean it's not a good wine. Doesn't mean it's a bad wine. It just didn't work for my palate. But maybe it works for yours. Thumbs down. That's always the easy one. It's just, let's not even go any further, right? If it's a thumbs down. So now, let me retaste the wines again and then give you my opinion. So the 2019 100% Viura, or Macabeo, also the grape used in producing cava, 12% alcohol. I give this a 3/4, and I tell you why. That subtle bitterness on the finish may turn some people off. It doesn't turn me off, but again, on a nice hot day, or from having some food, I think, you know, this wine is going to be great for that. Just this simple, easy drinking white wine. 3/4. It'd be a wine that I would like go to the store and say, hey, let me buy this wine. Or maybe I go to Wine Insiders and say, hey, I'm going to buy that wine because I'm going to have some people over and we're going to be, open this up, we're going to be, you know, just casually drinking. So 3/4 on that one. You know, doesn't knock my socks off, but it is a good alternative to, you know, other whites in similar style. Just easy drinking, light, refreshing, you know. So 3/4. Now for the red. This is going to be the Rioja 14.5% alcohol, 2019 Tempranillo blended with Mazuelo or Carignan. All right, here we go. Now, that was my Ritz coming after the white. I'm going to do another one for the taste. Okay. I love the structure in this wine. Again, I can't believe that it's 14.5% alcohol. It's so easy to drink, so smooth, to drink. It has a lightness to it. More elegant, than hefty and bold, and rambunctious. Just more elegant tasting. Puts me in mind, in this case, again, remember I said in my other video, when it comes to Tempranillos, I think old school, so I may be biased. I want robust. I want depth. I want extraction. I want chewiness. I definitely want density of fruit. This doesn't do that. But that's why I said I need to open myself up and realize that maybe the processes and how they're making these wines are going to be different at this level. So good everyday drinking wine again, but it doesn't knock my socks off. I'm going to go in between half and 3/4 on this one. Okay? I'm just not too sure of it. I think it'd probably be better with food, but just on a drinking, if I was at a party and I saw it, I would drink it. I wouldn't just go to grab it and say, oh my God, I got to share this with people. It doesn't do that for me. It's just okay. No big deal, just okay. All right? So there you have it. Recap. The Viura 2019, 3/4. The red, in between a half and 3/4. So here's 3/4, here's in between, right here. There you have it on these two wines. And I hope you enjoyed this experience. I look forward to doing more experiences like this, or presenting more experiences like this to you, because I had fun doing it. Share with your friends. As long as the wines are in stock, here's the key. As long as the wines are in stock, sometimes they change vintages. As long as they're in stock, you will always be able to come back and view these videos and do an on-demand style tasting. There will be links down below where you can get a discount on the wines when purchased. And wow, that'll be that. Here's your Wisconsin wine guy. I'm going to finish this one on the white. Saying as always, let your palate be the guide when selecting your next wine. And put down in the comments below if your rating were the same as mine. I'll see you next time when we present a on-demand style tasting. Ciao!